The samurai who refused to draw his sword. There was a samurai, not the kind whose name filled scrolls with glory, not the kind whose exploits were sung in villages or feared across provinces. He was known simply as Kenji. And yet, even in a land that revered steel and valor, even in an age where life was measured the sharpness of one's blade, he never drew his sword. Not once, and that was why everyone feared him. You might wonder how a man could inspire fear without a single cut, without a single duel. You might think it impossible, absurd even. And that is precisely the point. The power that terrifies is not always visible. True mastery is invisible. And today you will discover how the samurai who refused to draw his sword became more than a warrior. He became a force of nature, a living paradox, a mirror for every person who has ever struggled with control, with anger, with the world, impulse to react. Kenji was not born extraordinary, not in the way legends make heroes appear. He was small, wiry, and prone to temper. In his youth, his father, a veteran of countless battles, warned him against impulsiveness. The sword is not a toy. It is the reflection of your soul. If you cannot master what burns within, it will master you. But Kenji did not understand. Like all young men, he sought to prove himself, to win respect, to be feared, to be remembered. And for a time, he failed. In his earliest years, he swung the blade recklessly. Friends were injured, opponents humiliated him, and each night he returned home with bruised knuckles and a heavier heart. He promised himself that tomorrow would be different. He would control the rage. He would strike only when necessary. And each morning, when the first light fell across the rice paddies and the bells of the temples echoed across the village, he failed. He struck too soon. He lashed out in anger. He let ego dictate his hand. That is when he realized the sword was not the problem. It was him. The blade did not make the warrior made the blade. And if the warrior was weak, then the sword would always betray him. It was during one such evening, when the sun burned crimson behind the mountains, that a man appeared on the path, not a teacher, not a fellow samurai, but a man whose presence shifted the air itself. Ordinary in appearance, yet when Kenji looked into his eyes, he felt a force he could neither name nor resist. It was as if the man could see every impulse, every thought Kenji had ever tried to hide. "You seek mastery," the man said. Not a question, not a judgment, merely a statement. Yet you have not understood. You believe victory is steel, but it is not. You believe strength is in striking, but it is not. Come with me, and I will show you what true mastery demands. Kenji hesitated. He had traveled paths before, followed teachers, memorized kata, trained until his body ached, and yet something inside him resisted. He wanted to prove himself the same way everyone else did, through action, through blood, through the clash of blades. But there was a subtle truth he could not yet name. Perhaps strength was not what he had thought. He followed. They traveled across mountains where mist hung like memories, and rivers ran with the sound of eternity. The man said nothing, but Kenji felt the weight of instruction in every step, in every breath. Days passed without a word. Nights passed under the stars, and in the cold silence, Kenji began to notice something. The absence of action was itself a lesson. Every moment he did not strike, every thought he restrained, every impulse he ignored, his body learned a rhythm deeper than training. It was not the body being shaped, but the mind. The first trial came unexpectedly. A village was under attack, bandits threatening farmers, women, and children. Kenji's old reflex screamed, "Draw the sword, strike, protect." But the man stopped him with a hand, calm and firm. "Watch," he said. "The sword is not the first answer. It is never the first answer." Kenji watched. He observed how the bandits hesitated when faced with someone unmoving, someone unafraid, someone whose presence alone carried authority. One bandit stumbled, tripped over a rock, and another paused, uncertain. The village did not need him to strike. The presence, the stillness, the refusal to react had done more than any blade could have. That night, Kenji could not sleep. The lesson gnawed at him. The instinct to act was not gone. It had only been tempered. He realized that the mindless urge to fight, to act impulsively, was the greatest enemy. And if he could master that, then the sword would never fail him, because he would no longer need it as a weapon. The mastery was in himself. The man led him to a secluded temple, perched on a cliff above a river that glimmered like molten silver. Here, Kenji's training began in earnest, not in swinging swords, not in duels, not in strength or speed, but in stillness, in observation, in restraint. He sat for hours by the water, feeling his pulse, hearing the wind, noticing the slightest movement of birds, the ripple of leaves, the whisper of insects across the stones. He meditated until his body ached. He practiced kata without moving a single muscle, visualizing every opponent, every strike, every possible reaction, and every possible outcome. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And with each passing moment, he began to understand the invisible lesson. Power is not in action. Power is in preparation. Power is in the absence of action. Then came the real test, the second pillar of his training. The master took him to a training ground, empty except for a single ancient tree. "Imagine every enemy you will ever face," the master said. "Imagine them striking at you, screaming at you, threatening everything you love. Your mind will want to draw the sword. Your body will want to react. And yet, you will do nothing." Kenji spent an entire day beneath that tree, imagining every threat, every insult, every injury, every possible challenge. His body trembled. His fingers itched to grip the hilt. His heart screamed, yet he moved not an inch. And when the sun sank and shadows spilled across the ground, the master said simply, "You are ready. Not ready to strike, not ready to fight, but ready to be." The months of training were relentless. Kenji repeated the same sequences: meditation at dawn, breathing exercises, observation walks, silent reflection. Every day, without fail, there were no shortcuts, there were no exceptions. The principle was simple: discipline is identity, not motivation. The mind that hesitates is the mind that dies. And slowly, imperceptibly, Kenji's identity shifted. He was no longer a man who reacted. He was a man who existed in mastery. Impulse. During this time, word spread of his presence. Warriors from neighboring provinces came seeking duels. hoping to test the coward who never drew his sword. And each time, Kenji met them not with blade, but with presence. A tilt of his head, a calm breath. And invariably, the challenger faltered. Some left in frustration, some in awe, some never returned at all. He never struck. He never lifted his sword. It was not magic, it was understanding. The human mind craves reaction. It craves drama. It interprets hesitation as weakness. And yet, when the hesitation is absolute, when stillness becomes certainty, it becomes the most formidable weapon of all. The final lesson came in the form of Raiden, a young, proud samurai, determined to carve his name into legend. He had trained for years, mastered hundreds of forms, struck down dozens of enemies, and believed himself ready for the ultimate duel. He challenged Kenji openly. The entire village gathered. The air trembled with expectation. Steel clashed, not in battle, but in anticipation. Raiden drew his sword. Kenji did not. Raiden lunged. Kenji stood still. The ground beneath them seemed to hold its breath. Raiden struck again. Kenji shifted his weight slightly, barely noticeable. Raiden's blade meant nothing. His momentum carried him forward. He stumbled. He fell. Kenji remained upright, calm, unshaken. The crowd erupted in disbelief. How? He never moved, they whispered. Raiden looked up, breathless, humiliated. Kenji bowed his head, silent. You sought victory, he said finally. You sought to impose force. I sought nothing, and so I was. Victorious. Raiden never fought again. The lesson had been learned. The power of restraint is absolute. The mind that controls itself can bend the world without lifting a finger. And Kenji became a legend. Not because he killed, not because he conquered, but because he had mastered the invisible battlefield, his own mind. Those who watched him realized the subtle truth. The world fears the man who does not need to react. The world respects the one whose discipline terrifies others because it exposes their own weakness. This is the lesson Kenji leaves for us today. You will be provoked, tempted, enraged. You will face situations that demand action, words, retaliation, or defense. And in those moments, your mind will scream. But if you can learn to pause, to observe, to exist without reaction, you will wield a power greater than steel, greater than fists, greater than fear itself. The sword is not mastery. The strike is not mastery. The victory is not mastery. Mastery is the refusal to fight when all the world expects it. Mastery is the stillness in chaos, the calm in the storm, the silence that makes others falter. Mastery is becoming the presence that cannot be opposed. Kenji teaches us that to control the outer world, you must first control the inner. To command fear, you must first command desire. To master action, you must first master inaction. And when you achieve that, you realize the paradox of power. The strongest samurai never drew his sword because he did not need to. And now, the question for you is this. How often do you draw your sword when the world asks for it? How often do you react to every insult, every challenge, every provocation? How often do You give your energy to the chaos around you. Believing action is strength. Believing movement is victory. Perhaps it is time to learn the lesson Kenji learned. To cultivate a mind that does not hesitate. To embrace stillness as your weapon. To realize that power is invisible, discipline is identity, and mastery is the refusal to react. You do not need a blade. You do not need recognition. You do not need victory. You need presence. And that presence, that calm, terrifying presence, will shape your life, your work, and your very being. Kenji was not born a legend, he became one. And so can you. The next time your mind screams, your body urges, your ego demands, pause. Observe, stand still. Let the world move around you, and in that stillness, you will discover what it means to be truly powerful. Because power is not in what you strike, power is in what you resist.